gain fat when you eat foods that are greasy, high in sugar, or loaded with empty calories. On the other hand, it's hard to not lose fat if you use certain foods that are very filling, high in protein, and low in calories. These foods will naturally reduce hunger, they'll help you burn fat, and they'll open up plenty of space in your diet for cheat meals. And for the first food that's almost impossible to gain fat from, we have eggs. And the reason why I say almost impossible is because if you eat too much of almost any food, you can of course gain body fat. But eggs and other foods that I'm about to go over are going to be very difficult to overeat. This is because eggs are very high in protein, and the protein from eggs is not only very filling, but digesting protein will ramp up your metabolism thanks to something known as the thermic effect of foods. So you don't fully absorb all the calories from the eggs because a large portion is burnt off during the digestion process. So regular eggs, even if you eat them with the yolks, are very unlikely to lead to fat gain. Of course, if you make an omelet and add some whole milk with some sugar and then some cheese, then it's a completely different story. But eggs themselves are one of the greatest protein sources that you can use to fill your stomach up, build muscle, and burn fat without much effort at all. Another great food is wild-caught salmon, and it's important that you're specifically looking for wild-caught rather than farm-raised. This is because farm-raised salmon contains significantly more fat than wild-caught salmon, and this fat is made up of a higher ratio of omega-6s, which most people already get too much of in their diet. When looking at wild-caught salmon and a farm-raised salmon side by side, you can immediately tell the difference in the amount of calories and fat. The farm-raised salmon will have much thicker white lines, which are actually streaks of fat. So wild-caught salmon is great because it's very high in protein, very filling, and it has half the fat content that farm-raised salmon does. Next we have celery. Celery is one of the lowest calorie foods out there as it's made up of 95% water. It's going to be almost impossible to eat enough celery to add any sort of major impact to your daily calorie count. Celery is very filling. It's packed with nutrients like potassium, calcium, and many antioxidants. It also can be eaten with low-calorie dips like salsa, which is actually the next food on our list. Obviously, adding flavor to your meals is important, especially if you want to enjoy what you're eating. And salsa is one of the lowest calorie dips available. For example, if we look at a regular sized container of Tostitos chunky salsa, we see that there's only a total of 130 calories in the whole thing. And chances are very high if you're dipping a filling vegetable like celery or peppers into salsa, you're not even gonna eat close to half the bottle. So that makes salsa one of the best dips for fat loss. The only dip or sauce that's much better is hot sauce. Hot sauce basically contains no calories at all. It even says 0 calories right on the label. And if you like hot sauce, it goes great with high protein foods like chicken, tuna, and eggs. And actually hot sauce can go good with foods like celery as well. On top of that, capsaicin is the active ingredient found in the chilies that end up creating the hot sauce. The great thing about capsaicin is that it can slightly speed up your metabolism, helping you burn more calories even faster. Next we have one of the lowest calorie vegetables, spinach. 1 cup of spinach contains only 7 calories. Out of those calories, a good amount of them come from insoluble fiber, which will help fill you up for virtually no calories. Spinach also provides you with important nutrients like calcium, magnesium, potassium, and vitamin A. That's why if you enjoy eating salads, I recommend replacing the lettuce with spinach, since the spinach contains significantly more nutrients than the lettuce. Also, since spinach is so low in calories, it can be used to make a very filling smoothie that should be made up mostly of spinach in combination with a small amount of fruit and stevia for taste. Another food that's very likely to lead to weight loss is soup. The reason for this is because soup is very filling, likely because it's made up of at least 90% water. Of course, there are different soups with different calorie counts. However, if the majority of your soup is made up of healthy vegetables in combination with a lean protein source like a chicken veggie soup, for example, then it's going to be very filling, and most likely that will reduce the number of calories that you end up eating per day. This is why soup is one of my favorite things to eat before I actually start eating the rest of my meal. The high water content plus the veggies plus the protein is really going to fill your stomach up, making you naturally want to eat less once you get to the rest of your meal. And this effect can really be significant if you start a couple meals or even just one of your meals with soup. Also, starting with soup after breaking your fast is a great way to calm your hunger before you start eating higher calorie foods. Almost any broth-based soup recipe that's low in carbs will be great. You just want to look out for cream-based soups because they have a lot more calories. Another vegetable that you can use to dip into either salsa or a high-protein veggie dip where cottage cheese is used as your base is the bell pepper. Bell peppers have many other uses when you're trying to burn fat. For example, they can be used to make delicious tasting stir fries. They can also be hollowed out and stuffed with lean meat like lean ground beef or ground turkey. These stuffed peppers can then be oven baked for a delicious, low-calorie, highly filling, high-protein meal. Next, let's talk about a snack, popcorn. Now, of course, popcorn can make you gain weight and body fat if you eat too much of it. This is especially true if the popcorn has a lot of added butter. So you're going to want to get popcorn with no butter or oil added. The benefit of popcorn is that per calorie, it contains a lot of fiber, especially for a crunchy snack, making it much harder to overeat than something like potato chips, for example. As mentioned before, the fiber is great at filling you up. 1 cup of Skinny Pop popcorn contains only about 25 calories. So as long as you limit yourself to a few cups per day, this snack can actually help you burn fat and lose weight rather than gain it. Next, we have zucchini. Zucchini can be a great alternative for pasta dishes. All you need is a spiralizer. By making your pasta out of zucchini, you should be able to save anywhere from 70 to 80% of the calories that you would take in from eating regular wheat-based pastas. If you're not fully sold on the taste of zucchini pasta, I highly recommend looking up a pesto zucchini pasta recipe. Once you try it, you'll be blown away at how good it tastes, how filling it is, and just how many calories it saves you. Zucchini can also obviously be used to make a stir fry, or it can be cubed and thrown into all kinds of different soups. Another great alternative for high carb foods like potatoes and rice is cauliflower. It's definitely not going to be easy to eat enough cauliflower to gain body fat. That's because just like other vegetables, cauliflower contains a lot of fiber, especially per calorie. So instead of eating rice or potatoes, you can cut up cauliflower into small rice-sized pieces and cook it on a frying pan, or you can boil the cauliflower and mash it into mashed cauliflower. Even if you add a little bit of butter, the mashed cauliflower will have a fraction of the calories that mashed potatoes would. Aside from that, there are also many awesome recipes where you can replace something like pizza crust with a cauliflower crust, saving you calories without making you feel deprived. Next is kale, which is packed full of healthy nutrients, fiber, and it can be used to make some delicious filling smoothies. Just like spinach, it can also be used as a replacement for lettuce in your salads. And if you want a crunchy snack, you can bake kale leaves after spraying them with a little bit of olive oil cooking spray and seasoning them with a little bit of salt and pepper. Since a cup of kale only contains about 33 calories, even with the additional olive oil cooking spray, it's going to be a very difficult snack to overeat. Moving on to one of my favorite fruits for fat loss purposes, we have watermelon. The reason why watermelon is so great is because it's made up of over 90% water. So once again, foods that are very high in water content are usually not only low in calories, but they're also very filling, so it's difficult to eat too much. 100 grams of watermelon contains only about 30 calories, and 1 cup of watermelon contains only about 47 calories. And watermelon also will provide you with an important amino acid known as L-arginine, which benefits protein synthesis. Another vegetable that's made up almost entirely of water is the cucumber. You can pretty much eat an infinite amount of cucumbers without gaining any body fat. Cucumbers provide fiber, vitamin A, and beta carotene. Simply cutting up some cucumber spears and adding a little salt can make your meal much more filling. And along the same lines, we have pickles, which are basically cucumbers that have been fermented in brine. As long as you get pickles with no sugar added, they should contain almost 0 calories. There's also evidence that pickle juice can help reduce your appetite by stabilizing your blood sugar. Pickles are of course high in salt, but due to their low calorie content, you simply can't eat enough pickles to actually gain body fat. Another high protein food that you should have no fear of adding into your diet is chicken breast. Chicken breast is one of the leanest protein sources that you can get, And even though it'll contain more calories than many of the vegetables that I've mentioned in this video so far, almost all the calories are coming from protein. Many of these calories will be burnt off in the digestion process because of the thermic effect of foods. And if you're working out like you should be, the protein content is going to be necessary to help your muscles recover. Now, something else that you're definitely going to want to include in your diet are seasonings. Whether you get things like garlic, dill, or thyme and you add them to your meals in their raw state, or you get the dried versions of these products, they can really help improve the taste of all of your meals without adding almost any calories. My favorite seasonings include oregano, garlic, onion powder, smoked paprika, Montreal chicken seasoning, and Old Bay. But those are my favorite seasonings. There are so many more that can literally take a bland and boring meal and turn it into something delicious, which is why seasonings are an absolute necessity to have when you're trying to reduce your calorie intake while still enjoying the taste of your meals. The only seasonings that you have to be careful with are ones where sugar is added in. But most herbs and spices are totally fine, and they'll have a negligible impact on your total calorie intake. Seasonings go really well with another super low-calorie vegetable that tastes delicious, asparagus. A cup of asparagus only contains 27 calories. By adding a little bit of olive oil and seasonings like garlic powder, onion powder, and smoked paprika, asparagus makes for a very low-calorie, tasty side for one of your meals. Just like other vegetables that I mentioned, they're also high in fiber and rich in vitamins and minerals, especially vitamin K, vitamin A, and zinc, which is very important for athletes to get enough of, especially if they sweat a lot, because you'll be losing zinc through your sweat. Finally, last but not least, I want to mention mushrooms. Mushrooms provide some protein and fiber, which both benefit fat loss, and they're especially high in vitamin D and antioxidants. Studies have shown that eating mushrooms can help people feel full for longer. And the fact that there are only 16 calories in 1 cup of white mushrooms makes them another food that's almost impossible to overeat. On top of that, portobello mushroom caps can be used as buns for your burgers. Depending on the size of these mushroom buns, they will have anywhere from 18 to 35 calories. Meanwhile, wheat-based buns will have about 145 calories. And when you make these portobello buns correctly, they really taste great with a burger right off the grill. So those are 19 foods that are almost impossible to overeat and gain fat from. The one food that you will want to be careful of that I mentioned in today's video is popcorn. That's the only one that you'll really have to limit yourself with, while the others, you're most likely going to get full long before you ever venture into excessive calorie territory. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and that it gave you some ideas about some foods that you can add to your diet to help fill you up while keeping your calories low. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and also if you want any extra help mapping out your entire diet plan from A to Z, whether you're interested in intermittent fasting, vegan, vegetarian, keto, carb cycling, or you just want a customized diet plan guaranteed to help you burn fat.